branching pattern. And if Amy Bacco-Taylor was on the line right now, she could tell us a little more about it because she specializes in coralliids.
Hold there. Good shot.
Yeah, if you see right on the end, it could be confused for Paragorgia, but I'm pretty sure this is a coralliid just looking at the branches. And inside of it, it's got a what, Chris? That little brown...
Not inside it, per se, as it is wrapped around it.
Wrapped around it.
This is a snake star. This is a brittle. This is related to. These are what's called ophiuroids. They're distantly related to sea stars, and these have a sort of fleshy covering over the skeletal ossicles on their arms, and this gives them a great range of flexibility and the ability to coil and wrap around things very tightly. They usually climb up on these coral colonies in order to take advantage of the current, so they can feed on food as it's blown by on the water.
Video is clear. Video is clear. Come full wide, please.
Right, thank you. We had a request to see if we could see a thicker whip to the right of the Walteria. It's kind of where we were just a moment ago.
To the right of it.
Sorry, Chris, can you repeat that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. See the Walteria fuzzy sponge that's sort of on the upper right?
Upper right, okay.
And then to the right of that, there's kind of a thicker, unbranched coral, and it's going to be tricky, and you might have to snap zoom on it.
Okay.
But we have a request to look at that.
Okay, I'll come up and move over there.
So it's to the right of the spiky sponge.
Les has also noticed an internodal branching bamboo in the back, so we'll see if we can get to that too.
Oh, nope, come up. A lot of tall things right under me here.
Yeah. Right below you now?
Yeah, I'm moving back. I just had to avoid a couple of sponge stocks there. All right, why don't you, let's see. Actually, this should be fine. Coming back.
So Scott Francis Sharp eye.
Assuming partial. I don't really want to sit down here.
He noticed that this looked different than the other ones, and yep, it sure does look different.
Sorry, Chris, we're going to have to do a floating shot. Okay. I don't want to crush stuff below me.
That's good. Thanks. All right, Scott, so you're on. You're the one who pegged this one in the distance there. What are we looking at?
Yeah, well, here's the problem, right? Being able to say it's different and being able to say what it is are two completely different things. But it's really interesting. Very, very long polyps, and you can see that the polyps are really quite fleshy, are bending with the current. And the skeleton, I can see a note in there. There's no question it's a bamboo coral. And what I'm trying to get a look at is the robustness of the sclerites. And I can't actually see any. Go figure. They don't seem to be reflecting the light in this view, so that's kind of interesting.
Okay, let's zoom out.
Yeah, that's the best they can do, Scott, because it's really tricky not to damage anything.
Hold there.
It could be what he's talking about. I think it's an internodal brancher, maybe. So this is, whether it's the one he was talking about or not, this is again yet another different species of bamboo coral. So fantastic diversity so far. Okay, and
zoom out.
That bamboo whip, Scott thought it could be in the B clade. Thank you, Scott.
Okay. Anything else here, Chris?
Should we go look at that big one in the background?
Yeah, sure, because you sometimes can find some cool stuff on them, can't you, Chris?
Well, bigger colony, more epizoids. Who knows?
And more food for your guys.
Wouldn't it be nice to have a little house you could just live in down here in this little area?
You know, it would be a picture window there, fireplace off to the right, and this is your view out your window. Yeah, that would be pretty nice. All right, look at that. Corals and sponges as far as the eye can see, which isn't that far, of course. It's, I don't know.
It's limited by the lights on
Yeah, a
the
little
ROV,
bit.
but
So this big one here, right, is what
Corals
we're
and
talking
sponges
about.
living here in harmony. But one thing that's a little bit interesting is that there don't seem to be a whole lot of associates immediately obvious living on the corals or the sponges.
yeah, that's a good point. I noticed there really aren't a lot of other things. A lot of what do you call it, squat lobsters don't seem to be really common here.
Look at the current on this one.
Yeah, and we might have a shrimp on this one, kind of on the left side or something, maybe? I'm not sure what that is. Or it could be a squat lobster. Yeah, it's
A brittle star.
a brittle star or something. There's a few things on it as we get a little closer.
Okay, just help me keep an eye on this side there, co-pilot. I think we're okay for now.
You can see all those
Copy.
branches wavering in the current, so there's good current here.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable going much lower than this.
Yeah, no, this is fine. I'm stopping here.
So that is a brittle star. But you're right, it's only one brittle star in a huge colony that could accommodate more
Yeah.
associates.
The
than that.
current, I think everybody's been mentioning the current, so that might be a good explanation. Maybe that's what allows these to thrive, is to take advantage of the food, but without all of the extra
Alright,
weight.
rolling. Do you want to get a full wide without lasers first, or you want to zoom
We
in?
should start zoomed in because that gets my focus.
Okay, alright.
Bamboo.
Kill lasers?
Yeah, but
Sure.
Lasers are clear.
is this nodal or internodal? I think it's...
Let's go to the branch on the lower left.
This one looks like it's internodal, branching just past the node, and
See the
earlier
branch
we
lower left.
suggested perhaps
just trying to pan over here.
magnifica for the previous one, and this is
There we
another
go.
one that has that morphology. Mostly kind of fan-shaped. You can see that the diameter of that skeleton is really quite thick. Partly the way the branches are waving, the relative thickness of the polyps relative to their length all suggests that maybe this is the species Keratolysis magnifica or a relative of that, and that's a species that was described in 2014 from off New Zealand.
Scott, do you see that weird kind of double node thing over there on the right that we saw on a bamboo the other day?
Yep. I sure do see it, Chris. And I don't know if you saw my earlier comment in the event log
So
that
look around for associates.
Les agreed with, and that is that
Your
it
wish
seems
is
like
my
the
command,
more
Roland.
we see these images of bamboo corals, the less we feel like we know. And it just speaks to the fact that we need more samples to be able to analyze them a little bit more closely. One of the things that we do know that for all of these corals being asexual reproducers, they can
Pulling
continue to
out.
grow
Okay.
after an injury.
No,
or
I
in
would feel
response to the
comfortable
current.
maybe
You know, they
making
live
like
for
a
hundreds of years.
15-meter move
So
or
we
something.
don't
I
know
think
what's
we'll hold
happening
it here for
during
now
their
just 'cause,
lifetime to individual colonies
This is starting
where
to
the
go down the
local
backside of the ridge, and I think we're
Okay.
gonna reorient ourselves to start heading up the ridge.
Okay.
So after this.
They're all questions that remain to be answered.
Great, thank you, Scott.
Okay. Anything else here, Chris?
You know, I think we can move a little bit.
Okay.
There's stuff, but I think we got most of everything here.
It's about that one in the lower left. Is that the
Keep
same?
our eye out. So far, we
I'm not sure I can get down there, Roland.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna try to turn to starboard here and start to find which direction we need to go.
and pilot also. We are on the outlook for. We're on the lookout for a rock.
Okay.
I don't know if. I mean, it's kind of hard to find a spot
All right,
to
Fernando,
collect one.
I'm gonna
but
kind of. You're gonna need to turn to starboard.
Copy.
Another beautiful
heading?
way to gorge.
Well, we're not sure yet, but
You got a reading on your sonar here.
yeah.
Good strong return, it looks like.
I want you to keep tilted down to look at me here.
Thank you.
There we go. Alright, yeah, this is agreeing more with high pack now, isn't it?
Okay, we have a
Yeah.
little more spacing out at this particular part of the ridge.
Well, I think we're on top now.
Yeah. Anything down there, pilot, that might be grabbable? I'm just trying to keep an eye out for
Rocks.
rocks.
Maybe one of that
Now that we got
sediment
kind of a clear area, I don't know how many clear areas we'll get. They all look kind of
to the right of lasers.
stuck, don't they?
These look maybe just like little pieces of manganese. These ones here. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some pillows here, though. It's just sort of a flatter flow feature, I think.
What's the general bearing upslope nav, according to high pack?
It's about 300. I'll show you an overview.
Yeah.
So here's where we're going. We're just going to waypoint 2. That's all of it, and it is, 290 to 300.
Okay.
So
good to know. Thank you.
It's
very
mostly
heavily
flat.
manganese crusted. You can see by all that bubbly texture to the surface.
I'm right now centered on 330.
330. All right. Let's come back a little bit. Yeah, a lot of current. So I'm having to push pretty hard, co-pilot. So one thing you want to help me keep an eye out is if I get a fault on one of my thrusters. You know, it'll flash red on the D2 diagram there.
Pilot, is there any
Copy.
chance we could look down at that brown one that's coming to center lower?
Sure, absolutely.
I think that's our first black coral today. And there's a different type of sponge next to it as well. If we could do quick zooms on both of those since they're new ones, we haven't gotten.
Skids on the coral on the right.
All right, Roland, you want to go ahead and zoom in?
The coral right above the lasers. And that is a black coral, and we don't have Tina Molodtsova on yet because it's really late in Moscow. We'll have to try to take some guesses on this. Scott, can you help us out at all with this particular Antipitherian or black coral?
Yeah, Chris, I was just having a look to see if, Trisopathes would be my
Clip
first
down.
guess, but then I just wanted to be sure it couldn't be a Cladopathes, or excuse me, a
Makes sense.
Chrysopathes, which I'm not sure that we've seen yet. I do think it's something in that family, the Cladopathidae.
Okay, so Alternopathes or Chrysopathes, but
Yeah,
definitely
Seamount wrong.
Cladopathidae, right?
That's what I believe.
Gosh, look how fast this
Okay,
is
thank
taking
you
me.
very much.
Well, the nice thing is that the current is almost coming from upslope somehow. I'm not sure. Well, a little off to the south side of the ridge.
Okay, and I forgot to annotate that sponge. That's okay.
Right, Fernando, why don't you come to like 300?
There's a urchin.
Is that a rock in that crack in the center?
All right, Sirius 300.
Okay, thanks.
That would be nice. Yes. I'm hoping that there's a spiny little thing there.
A
coming
spiny
down.
little thing.
There's an urchin on the right.
Oh, over
that's
there.
what
He's
right
going
at.
for.
Well, what's by the lasers? I was wondering what that is.
It's a base from a
It's a
spine
base from?
bed.
Oh, okay. Maybe we can go for the spiny little thing over to
Spiny
the
little
right.
thing. All right.
Spiny big
As
thing.
close as you get to it with the center dot on the top.
Oh, it is quite big, isn't it?
Well, for an urchin, it's pretty
Yeah.
big. We haven't seen very many of these on
This
this
is
cruise.
the first urchin I've seen since those two white ecanotherids the other day.
Well, we saw the spadangoid too.
Oh yeah, on the very
first
first
one.
day.
And
Ooh.
I see a chrysogorgia upslope from this, but we'll get the urchin first. It's a dead Walteria sponge. And behind it,
Yeah, so this is what's known as an echinotherid urchin, sometimes called
How you feeling,
pancake
Fernando?
urchins,
Everything look good to you?
or
Yeah.
Cool.
the New
Good to
Zealanders
me.
call these tam o'shanter urchins because
All right, rolling.
they're actually
Right on
flat,
top of it.
and the water
Give me
evacuates out of
max.
them when you bring them up to the surface. These are actually deep water relatives of sort of fire urchins, but they have really interesting adaptations. If you look, if we skim right around the edge, you see that some of these spines have little white sort of, they look like caps, the kinds of things you would put on the ends of walkers, and that's because they serve the same function. They're actually walking on those little legs, on the spines, that actually act as little legs. And so, yeah, so you're actually looking at a sea urchin. Looks like Tromacosoma, thanks to Chris's benthic invertebrate guide. But these walk around on these little white spines with the little leg caps on the ends of them. And
Going around a
on
little
top
bit
of
here.
all of that, they're actually poisonous. So
Really?
yeah, you can. If we collected this, I would let someone else handle it because those spines can. Well, again, they're distantly related to shallow water fire urchins, and the poison is something that no one really knew about in the literature until
Fine,
someone
full
actually
screen.
handled
Okay.
the living ones. But there's a lot of bizarre things about these animals. They're kind of a classic group of deep sea urchins.
Called
They're
it.
they're found in the fossil record. And in fact, these were actually described from fossils before they were described from living animals. So they're just as sort of archaic in appearance as those stocked crinoids that we see.
Okay.
So
Super
there's
clear.
a lot of
Video's
interesting
clear.
creatures.
all right. Then there was a coral up on the ledge, to the upper left of it. That's a wispy little thing. I think it's, aside from the Iridogorgia, I think it's our first chrysogorgia. There it is, just under that whip coral.
I see it. The little guy over there.
Yeah, the little puff ball,
Okay.
or not a ball, but puffy thing.
He's talking the rip coral on the left.
Bottle brush, I guess.
Oh, I
is-
see. Not
Yeah, there
not
it
the
is.
one center, the one on the left.
Yeah, the one
got
there
it.
on the left.
You got it.
There's also one underneath the vehicle.
Tim Sheng, I was looking at other stuff too. Tim, he saw something, maybe a small shrimp, and I missed it too, darn it. So I'll try to look for those as well. It's Tim Shank calling in from the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. He specializes,
Okay, go ahead, Roland.
among other things, in a lot of the associates found with corals. Okay, so this is also one of Les's and Scott's specialty animals.
Just get my focus. I'll back out in a second.
That's their cue, by the way.
Squat lobster's going for a ride
Yeah,
there.
this is another octocoral in the genus Chrysogorgia, and you can see that it has a squat lobster, chirostylid squat lobster. I think two of them, a pair of them in the branches of this colony.
Tilt down.
It's an observation that we see fairly routinely. We believe
Good.
that the crabs are specifically using this coral as a host. It may be that there's one male and one female there. And the way to identify this to species is based on counting
I think I do see the second one if you
how
tilt
the
down
branches
to
arise from the stem,
just past the
the
main ball.
number of
See his
whorls along the
arm.
main
That
axis
just
that
went
you
off
have
screen.
to go to find one branch directly above the other, and whether it's branching in a clockwise or counterclockwise fashion. And as you can imagine from looking at this, that is kind of difficult to do in video. A lot easier when you're holding the colony in your hand. But those are the characters that we would use. And it does become easier when we look back at these data after the
Okay, let's
still
zoom out.
images are available. We spend a lot of time reviewing this to get more information out and better identification.
Great, thank you, Scott. So we're going to move on, push on, and find some more interesting critters.
This is kind of looking like a good direction to me. Like a 280.
So what's
potential
going to
rock.
happen, I mentioned this early on in the dive, is that
Lower center.
we're on a ridge crest.
Yeah, me
We're
too.
going to be
280, yeah.
going
Copy.
on kind of
I
a
think just
level
move it.
depth for a little while
You're
today,
ready.
and then we're going to start to climb.
Yeah,
For the
yeah.
last
sonar
About
looks
a-
good.
half, 2/3 of the dive, we're going to start getting into steeper
About
terrain.
a 30 meter? Or,
Yeah, why not?
okay.
Yeah.
Looks like there's too much out there.
Chris, we're going to do a 30-meter move up the ridge here.
Okay, great.
Splendid.
Yeah,
30 meters at
not seeing anything that looks
280.
loose or big enough. Yeah, go ahead.
Bridge, RV nav.
Pilot,
Go
there's
ahead,
a
RV
dark.
nav.
So
We are
dead-
ready for
dead
ship
sponge.
move.
Is it a dead sponge?
Yeah,
powder?
that's one of
30
these
meters,
are
bearing
periscope
280, 0.2 knots.
That is 30 meters.
Never
bearing
mind, we're good.
280,
Okay.
3.2.
Good, Captain.
Trying to figure out if that's an optical illusion or whether that's something up ahead. That weird circular. Yeah, that thing. What is that?
I
Just
think
an
that's an
optical.
optical illusion.
Oh, okay.
On the rock there.
Yeah. Okay.
What
Wishful
a mighty
thinking.
Weird sponge,
Right.
though.
It's just some sediment that's dusting in between part of the texture of this manganese-crusted substrate.
Although there is a
RV
purple
nav
blob
bridge,
next
move
to
of
that
30
weird,
meters, bearing 280, speed
illusion.
decimal 2 initiative.
Right
Oh,
next to your
yeah.
lasers.
Cucumber.
Yeah, let's see if we can
What is
take
it?
a look at that.
Sure.
Our first cuke of the day.
So, echinoderms are sea stars and their relatives. We've seen ophiuroids, or brittle stars today, or rather serpent stars. We just saw a sea urchin, and this is most likely, anyway, a sea cucumber. Sea cucumbers are kind of like the earthworms of the sea. They're not proper worms, but they do ingest organic food which they take from the sediment. And if we're lucky, we'll get to see an animal with a transparent body wall and maybe see what it's been eating.
Okay, go ahead, video.
But we'll probably be we're looking head on at this. We're seeing a lot of the little feeding. Yeah, I think we're seeing the feeding arms around the mouth.
Tilt down.
So we're looking
Yep,
head on.
just takes me a second
onto the
rolling,
front.
so I gotta
And so
make
in
sure
the
my
rear,
sticks
in
are
the
stable.
Sort of back part are the little tube feet, which it's using to adhere to the surface. But you can see the little, they're sort of big pad-shaped things in the front, and it's essentially grabbing all of the little organic goo that's on the surface and moving it to its mouth. And although the body is transparent, or is a little offset, isn't really in clear view, we'll probably see one again later today where we'll get to observe the food literally being moved into the intestine. You can see it sort of as a gold tube somewhat through the view that we're looking at here. These are incredibly fragile animals. And look at that. There's actually a worm living on the side of it. It's not unusual for small polychaete worms to be commensal, to essentially live on the surface of some of these. This one might be close to, I want to say Elpididae, so sort of like a sea pig. So, neat.
Okay,
Thank you.
zoom out.
Yeah, we were thinking it could be something like that.
Aha, I got it.
Yep.
Elpididae.
You did.
He's just kind of jiggling around in the current there.
Yeah, a pretty delicate animal for this kind of current.
I think that's something we all aspire to, is just to stand there and jiggle as the water blows us along.
Right, while a worm feeds on us or
They
something.
don't feed on them, they just
know.
live on them.
Oh, okay.
You know, who doesn't want that?
Well, I don't want a worm living on me. Thank you very
Well,
much.
I'm just saying, if I dropped a bugle while I was eating it, I wouldn't mind having a little guy there to pick it up. It could be like a cat, you know. Maybe they keep them as pets. I don't know.
Pet worm.
Sure, why not? Commensal, it's win-win. not necessarily a parasite. There are actually snails that live on those, though.
Deep-
Parasitic snails, yeah.
Deep sea status symbol, having a worm on you.
You feel like you're moving.
My dog does that all
Copilot.
the time.
Aha, see?
Maybe a little bit.
My
There
little
we
crumb
go.
snake.
Trying to calm down to give you some tether.
All right, so we
You're looking
are
pretty
at
good.
2,057 meters or so.
There's some rocks up there, maybe.
Oh, maybe. Dan's inner geologist just got expressed. He spotted some possible rocks here. We try to find ones that have a bit of girth, as we've described for you numerous occasions, because they're so manganese-crusted. We want to try to get something that has a hope of having some basalt or volcanic substance in the interior. Beautiful Walteria sponges along here.
I think there's some potential
yeah.
up there. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're moving that way, but we'll have to wait a little
Is that a
bit.
sponge on the right there? A little kind of column?
couldn't. I think it's a dead
Oh,
stock,
dead
maybe.
stock, yeah.
Beautiful Walteria sponges. These are these kind of ones that look the way I do when I first wake up in the morning. So they're a little bit of a lot of stubble on them.
I can confess that is actually what Chris looked like.
Not quite as thin as that, though. So there's a bamboo coral, kind of a leggy one, right in front of us as well, in the family Isididae. Is there one in that pocket, Dan, or not? They may be kind of, right in front of the sponge.
These ones look pretty encrusted to me.
Okay.
But I think once we get up a little further on the right, there's some potential up there.
Okay. Thank you. Those of you who just joined us after our little intro, we are on Wetmore Seamount, or
Yeah, I
what
think I'm moving
will
now,
be known
pilot,
as Wetmore
so you can
Seamount,
push
if
out if
John
you want.
Smith's
Okay.
proposal to name the seamount takes with the authority. It's involved in seamount names. And Bruce had an interesting question earlier on. He asked whether or not the seamount was named after the famous ornithologist, and we're hoping at some point maybe John can chime in on the telecom line and explain why he's proposing the name Wetmore for this seamount. And he's first probably going to hold us hostage, and we have to grab a rock first before he calls in.
Oh, what about all these?
Yeah, I know. I think this is what they spotted. And we're going to...
All right, I'm going to come down a little bit, Fernando.
Okay, I'll follow you.
Hopefully there's some loose stuff in here.
What's all this
Yeah.
texture along the edge, Chris?
I don't know. Sediment dusting or almost maybe dead barnacles? I don't know.
I don't think it's sediment. It looks like some kind of encrusting.
Yeah.
Well, we can take a
Yeah,
closer look real
maybe
quick.
do a snap zoom on this.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll bet they're barnacles. We've seen
Probably going to have
several
to
areas.
get one that's
Sure.
closest.
The first barnacle gets here, and it's a really good place, and then a whole bunch of them propagate. Why do we see it here and not other places?
Okay, you want to go for zoom? Let's
Yeah,
go ahead and go full
barnacles.
zoom.
Is it barnacles?
Huh.
Yeah, they are. There's
That's
a
really
mixture
weird.
of live and dead ones, maybe? Is that what we're... Or something's growing in between them.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
They certainly seem to favor one face of the rock versus another.
Yeah, and this is, I gather they at one point when a lot of these were alive, they were getting pretty good current flow because they're filter feeders also, if I'm not mistaken, Chris. Is that right?
Yes. Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead
Have
and
we
zoom out.
ever collected a rock with one of these? I'm just curious which one
Yeah.
it might be. Is.
Yeah, we've got them. We don't...
Wow, there's a lot
Good.
of them. It's covering the entire surfaces of those.
Yeah, I think that's a dead Walteria. Yes, it is. And it's kind of hard to reach down in there. Boy, there looks like a juicy rock down there, but...
Kind of to the right here.
Yeah, the one in front of the boulder on the right. But
I see two of them there.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to go for the one on the left. That's pretty. but yeah, the one below the laser right now.
Right there.
Is that any chance of getting it, or is that too hard?
Snaps if it's sealed.
Well, it's more a matter of getting the arm down in there. 'Cause you see how narrow that.
I might need to
Yeah,
bring
not
the
even
ship
sure
back
it's loose either.
5 or 10 meters because he's going to have some swing for a little bit.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It may not be loose, Dan. I'm looking at that
Yeah,
right side
and
of
also, I'm not sure I can get the arm that far out there. Can't really get much lower with these other features in the way.
it. What about this one in front of the dead sponge? Any chance for that one? I don't know how flat that is. But could be loose. That one the laser's on. Can you hear Dan thinking?
Well, that looks like a decent rock to you, though.
I wish John or Jonathan would call in here.
I'm already
maybe we could push on.
75.
It looks
Yeah,
slightly on the
maybe.
small side and hard to get.
Okay. You want to move on then?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
The one just above it, past the boulder, looks about the size.
If there's anything up ahead here. These do look like pillow formations. At least some of them do. Oh, maybe coming up on some other candidates here that might be
Here we
easier.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, but how about one that? Well, that's really big.
Such self-restraint today.
No.
This one just coming up on the right.
Right.
Is that the one you were looking at?
Well, it's kind of big though, isn't it?
It does look pretty big, but
What about two to the right of that one?
also looks pretty encrusted to me.
Yeah, it does. Okay.
I think all this does.
All right. Well, we'll just keep an eye out and
Okay.
continue on. There's a chrysogorgid coral that's to the left of the ulterior sponge. I'm not sure it's the same as the one we already looked at.
You can do a snap zoom as we push that way.
Yeah.
Good eye, Chris. I just
You want
noticed
to bring
that
your
as
head
we
back to
were moving
280,
away,
Fernando?
and it doesn't quite
Copy.
look like the bottle brush we saw earlier, does it?
No, it's got a stalk. It's kind of hidden behind the
This
bushy
one
part.
here?
It's got, yeah, that's
You
it.
can do a snap zoom.
I wonder if it's a small iridogorgia.
No, I don't think it's a irido, but we can't really see the stem. Boy, it could be the same, but it may.
Yeah, it looks like it's the same thing, I think.
Oh, it's the same. Okay.
All right, we can zoom out.
This one seems open enough you can almost count the branches. Maybe 1/3, but I don't know if it's right or left.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott. And now we're getting into a little higher density again. We may be seeing these little patches going on and off all day today. Wouldn't surprise me. We got that leggy bamboo already.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the same leggy thing. I don't think that's the same. That
Did you-
actually looks a little bit like an Okeanos.
I see what you're talking about. Well, there's another one coming up ahead. Pilot, you see that one to the right of the sponge going off to the left right now? Oops, sorry, that was a misleading.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your last?
Yeah, sorry. We're looking, if you keep turning a little bit to the left,
Okay.
even that one straight ahead now on the boulder, because we're in kind of a boulder area, we might be able to get a rock here.
You can go ahead and turn your head, Fernando.
Focus, Chris.
All right,
No,
I'll follow you.
there's some. I just saw some rocks in the sediment here that look really promising. But there's a coral, kind of a bushy one on the boulder.
Yeah, that's good.
At some point.
And then you can come down a few meters. I'm sorry, which one are you looking
Yeah.
at here, Chris?
Well, how about, do you see any of these rocks that might be candidates, Pilot, first?
Well,
Before we can-
looks like on that sediment patch there's a couple of really rounded ones that might be loose.
Yeah, right by the laser. That one there on the laser right now. I wonder
Yeah, we're
if
gonna
that-
have to. I mean, is that?
Could
You
be
think
big enough, or
it kind of looks like just encrusting to me, but it's maybe 15 centimeters across.
could you spin a little bit just to give us a little look at from the left side?
Yeah, I don't have too much tether. If we want to do that, I'll have to move the ship. But
I can come down a few
Okay,
meters.
okay, yeah, fine. You want to do a zoom, Roland? Partial.
That doesn't look bad, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, one of those there. It's a little bit on the small side. I don't
Yeah,
know if
it
we
is.
can-
It is pretty small.
How about this one over to the left? One of something there. One of any of those in there, maybe a little bit bigger.
All right. Well, how are you feeling, Fernando?
I'm center on 250.
Okay.
Delta.
You're not moving
15.
anymore.
It's
John
hard
or
for me to
Jonathan,
tell, but I don't.
we'd love
When
to
did
have one of you
the-
guys
He
call
should
in
be. It's
and
been
give us a little
been
counsel
10 minutes
here.
since
We
the
see a
move
couple rock
stopped.
candidates.
All right. You want
There's
to
some-
tilt your camera up a little bit?
There's
Right
also
there.
even a big one
That's
over
good.
to the left, Dan. You see that one that's kind of on the rubble pile? I
On
wonder
the
if-
left.
Yeah, you see that to the right of the coral. Keep going and then up from where you are now,
Out there.
and go straight up from there.
I see. You want to zoom in, Roland, real quick?
That would be a nice size one if you could manage it.
Talking that 40 centimeter one there?
Might be loose.
That one. We can try it. Yeah. Let's. Why don't we move the ship like 10 meters in that direction?
Sure. 255.
Yeah.
Chris, there's those.
Does that sound good to you, Fernando?
Right, Harvey Nav.
Things I think.
Just do a short
Yeah.
move over there.
We'd like to do
I
a
see.
shift move of
Yeah.
10 meters at 255 degrees 0.2 knots.
Could we do a quick
That
snap
is
zoom
a
right
move
below
of
the
10
lasers right now?
meters.
Is there
A
lining
little-
up for the rock?
255.
Yeah, the
Little stock there.
Good
little
copy.
stock things.
Sure. Yeah, we got to wait for the
Not
ship
the-
anyway, so
Not
that
the
works.
stock
Okay.
candelabra thing.
Yes, I see. That's what I meant.
So Roland, if he's right on this can be an important observation.
And this would be another one of those you got to get close. It's a small
Well,
thing.
I can't really get much
Uh,
closer right now.
I'm hoping that that's John or Jonathan, but if you stand by for a moment, we're going to try to see if we can get a rock here somewhere.
Oh, wow, there's 2 of those colonies there.
Go ahead and zoom in.
Yeah, they're
Three.
pretty curious.
ROV nav bridge. Move of 10 meters, bearing 255. Speed decimal 2 initiated.
Wow,
Copy that.
Roland, you are right. Hang on, John, for a moment. We're actually seeing Chondrocladia, possibly Chondrocladia lyra. It's a demo sponge that we only imaged in the Marianas. This sponge has never been recorded in the Central Pacific. It's a cladorizid. It may not be that exact species, but it has the name lyra for obvious reasons. It has a
Looks
lyrate
like there
shape.
might be a number of prey caught on the
Yeah.
spines
Yeah.
there.
This is a really important observation. Thank you so much for that, Roland, the videographer right now. So if you go into the, oh no, they're not in there yet because it's the Marianas. It'll be in the next version
Nav,
of the.
last move was
animal
255, correct?
So these are
Correct.
sponges, believe it
Thank you.
or not. They look like corals, but they're actually sponges.
Didn't we collect something like this in the Marianas last year?
Yeah, we collected 2 of them, so
Yeah.
it's not such an issue. But the imagery alone clearly
Do you have any more
is
zoom?
that type of sponge.
Max zoom.
Okay. Ship's moving a little bit this way, so we can get a little closer if we need to. We can come out.
These are magnificent sponges. Thank you so much. It just
It's interesting that they're so small.
yeah. John, was that you? If you want to give us some little guidance here on rocks, if that was you calling in earlier.
Yeah, go on. I think the pile, anything. I mean, it looks like a good pile to select from, and that's basically all I had to say right now.
It's pretty big, huh, Dan?
I don't know. It could
Well, some of these might be okay, I guess.
could work for us.
Okay. And if we're waiting for another minute or two, that pinkish coral that's just by the basket on the left is something I think Scott France was interested in getting a close-up of. But we're going to look at the rocks first.
Alright. Alright, you comfortable, Fernando?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we'll keep this screen up for now. I don't think I'll need the minis just right now. You can see it up there.
So, John, I think you're still on the Kelecom. So
Okay, hydraulics up.
I have enough rocks for my rock garden. So is there any other reason we're
Do
collecting
you want all
rocks
the way
today?
or 3/4? Good.
3/4. Yeah.
What do you mean, other reasons?
Yeah, a better reason, right?
Well, to do a number of different studies on geochemistry to detect what type, what
It's a
the
controller,
composition
huh?
of them. Can tell a lot from what the in general what type of magma and all the details.
The craft
More
controller, yes.
details, the more studies you do with that. Also, dating is the primary interest to get an age of the volcano and the seamount.
So have any rocks ever been
All the
collected?
other-
John, has any rocks ever been collected from the seamount before?
No, not that we're aware of. I don't think there's been any. Well, it wasn't mapped before we mapped it, and wasn't drove on, and I don't believe anything's been collected from it.
So while he's grabbing,
Dredging. Right.
right, so while he's collecting it, John, you and Jonathan have kind of a theory about how many volcanoes made the seamount. You want to just mention that briefly? Oh, it's 3. Question is, oh, that is a nice one.
I just pushed it a little too
get
far
rid
away.
of your lightness problem.
Yep. I just pushed it a little too far away, so I'm going to have to move in a little closer here.
John, can you talk a little bit about what you think about this seamount here that you presented at the Geological Society of America a couple months ago?
Yeah, we have kind of mapped this out, interpreted the structure and the morphology and the different geologic units with possibly three different volcanoes or eruptive areas, at least on the seamount, so we've drawn contacts across what we think are operating the different volcanic events. So we're on the one that you're diving on now is part of a larger structure, which is much larger than the other potential two volcanoes to the northwest of this particular part of the edifice.
So did these all erupt at the same time, or what do you think? Different times?
Different, probably in a sequence. That probably had this larger one going first and for the most amount of time, and then either the other ones started afterwards or kind of overlap time is more probably what's likely happened. Because they're all joined
in the box. So thank you.
Yep, a little too far away again. That's all right. It's kind of got the really wide part up, so I have to kind of get my fingers underneath of it. Try to pick it up. The current's pushing me over here.
You still have plenty of time.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I'm moving, but I've had my...
You're probably drifting a little bit as the current transitions, but...
But yeah, I'm fine. I only have you at 70 degrees.
Okay.
It's been like that for about 5 minutes, so...
Yeah, it should be
it's fine.
stable. Yeah, sounds good. All right. Too much. Yeah. Man, sorry. Some days you got it and some days you don't.
It's also a huge rack with no
Yeah.
grip points.
Try one more time here.
Yeah, you might have it in a little better position to grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rocks here are slim pickings with all that consolidated surface there. So good question, Roland. I'll answer that in a moment as soon as they get this thing into the box. Thank you. He's got it. He's got it. Fantastic. Maybe we don't do a quick exam. You just flip that in the box pilot. Looks like that grip is precarious.
Do you want me to take your camera?
Let me get the camera.
Okay.
If you wanna, yeah. Actually, let's bring that over. If you can tilt down on mini-Zeus, will help.
Oops. Too far.
It is quite large, but I think it's okay. Let's go ahead and starboard wing inboard a bit.
Starboard.
I only
Wing
suggested it to
inboard.
help you out. You said you were light. We're going to get Nicola to carry it up the
Is that
steps
good?
anyway.
That's good.
So
All
right.
no problem.
That's how we get our exercise in here on the Okeanos.
Well, believe it or not, Nicola is almost choosing the heaviest buckets to carry up the steps. So, which,
Okay.
frankly,
Close it up.
I appreciate. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. Going to starboard right. 2.13. Okay, before we leave here, pilot, this kind of leggy coral that's right below us there, slightly to the left of center, is something of interest to shoreside, I believe. Scott France in particular. He suggested we haven't noted this one yet, and I think he's absolutely right. This does look different. We have a better look at it.
Thanks, Fernando. Sorry, which one, Chris?
This sort of pink branching one that's sticking up just out of view from the bottom. Yeah, that one. If we could get a zoom on that,
Sure.
that would be terrific.
We can do that. Let's go ahead, Roland.
All right, Scott, you're on. You or Les, by the way.
So I'm looking to see if the base of this colony, yeah, I don't think it's what I thought it was. At first I mentioned that maybe it was going to be an Acanella Weberi, which would have a particular sort of radiation of branches from the base. This did not. This one you can see those black dots in the skeleton. Those are called nodes. They're made of proteins, and you can see that the branch that's arising does not come from where the black dot is. Instead, it comes from the white part between those black dots. That's called the internode, made of calcium carbonate. So this is an internodal brancher. Really nice view there of the sclerites, those kind of white lines that you're seeing in the body of the polyp. Another thing that's going to be helpful for us here is the tentacles have been folded over the mouth. You don't actually see any of the tentacles arising. So that's going to allow us to see better how the needle-like sclerites project. So excellent view. I think at present we would have to put this probably in the D clade, maybe D1 clade of
I'm
collateral.
at 90 pilot, 90 degrees.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Video is clear.
All right.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Full
And that's
screen
how
with
we will
lasers.
log it.
I think you just killed them, Fernando.
What is it?
You went full screen without lasers, Roland? So what you
Yeah.
said? Okay.
I actually rotated to 240 to keep you in.
Thanks.
Lasers on.
All right, I think we're clear. Go ahead and come up.
Great. Well, hopefully later on when we get our second rock,
Right.
it'll be a less torturous location.
Gonna go
Sorry.
back to
But
05.
as you can see, the
Was it
people
0.5?
following us here, it's hard
Okay.
pickings here. A
It
lot
looks
of
like
the
he's gonna
substrate is
be-
very
does he
consolidated,
look at his
so
sonar?
you have to kind of try to find rocks in these little pockets that pockets and places wherever we can
and that
find
adds
them.
up with high pack too.
All right, so you are
Something
0.9.
like a 295, 290, somewhere in there.
My sonar looks good.
They got
Two-
something white
285?
on the top of
290?
that branch to the.
I think a 290. Be good.
I
Okay,
wonder if we could
centering
take a snap
290.
zoom on that white tip.
You want a 30
there.
meter hop right now? Or you want to let you get out there a little bit?
Yeah, I think we could go ahead and call it in.
Okay.
I don't think this will take too long.
Yeah, it'll take about 5 minutes before we feel it anyway.
Yeah, that's fine.
He's speaking to nav, I think, Roland. Right now.
This white tip here, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Bridge, RV nav.
Go ahead, RV now.
Ready for a move.
All right.
30 meters, 290 degrees, 0.2 knots.
That's
I actually
30
thought it was
meters,
one
bearing
of
290,
Chris's
speed decimal
beasts. I'm
2.
not
That's a
sure
good
what
copy.
it is right now.
Can you let the bridge know there's a lot of
Oh,
background
I-
noise up there? It's making
Yeah.
it hard to understand them.
They're having a party up there.
I think I do
Yeah.
know what this is. This is the sponge that I think we collected the other day, which is the turbocharger sponge. Kind of looks like
Bridge,
it, right,
can we do
Nicole?
a comm
Yeah, it
check real quick?
does.
Loud and clear.
Maybe.
Okay, I hear you loud and clear as well.
So,
Okay, great.
Matt Dornbeck actually gave it this name
Okay, you want to zoom in?
RV nav bridge,
because of
move
the
at 30
tubular
meters, bearing
structures coming out
290,
of the
speed
top of
decimal
it.
2
Hold there.
initiate.
Wow.
Good copy.
Well, it's a little different, but so I'm comfortable going to the family variety, but this is actually a little different than the turbocharger sponge. So, but this is a hard sponge. It's a glass
Got
sponge.
some fuzzies on
It's
the
in
right of the
group
sponge.
Hexactinellida. And this is a very cool, interesting
You okay
member
for a
of
tight
that
zoom?
Okay.
family, and may very well be what we collected the other day. It's got these beautiful leaf-like structures coming off of a main stem. It's also got stuff growing on it. Wow, pilot, yeah. Pilot, any chance we could stop here for a
Seamount?
moment?
Yeah, let's go
So-
and stop the ship.
So the
Bridge, RV nav.
sponges were
Go
up.
ahead, RV nav.
Let's go
I
ahead and
think
halt
in
the
the
ship right
collection
here.
rotation
We'll
here.
come to an
And
easy
what
stop.
caught my eye
Copy.
is there looks like there is a commensal black coral, which is extremely unusual. We have documented it before on something called Feria Oka. Maybe we could get one more look on
Sure.
this.
I'll come around to the other side here.
Scott,
We
I don't
only
know.
moved 8 meters in that move.
I saw black coral
Copy that,
polyps
thank you.
on that sponge.
Yeah, and I thought this was going to wind up being the one that was on the
Irving
Feria
Bridge,
Oka was
we
going to
are
wind up
at a
being in
stop.
the
Copy.
Antipathes genus. I may be mistaken, but just gotta think about this one a little bit because it's a. This could be a twofer. This is what I'm sort of looking at. We could actually get a really cool sponge and a coral at the same time. While he's zooming in, let's
ahead and zoom in,
poll
Roland.
the participants here. What do you guys think about this? If we decide to go for it, would you support this, or would you prefer that we move on and try to find something else?
Chris, that sounds fine. Let me ask the work that Daniel's done with the black coral associated with the sponge. It's with a different kind of sponge.
We haven't collected anything, right?
Yeah, it's in the same
Any
family, Scott,
biobiology,
but
so-
it was not
Okay.
on this kind of sponge. It was the sort of the bushy, low Ferian Oka. So it's different.
See if we can see the
scan
footrest.
down to see if
Foothold.
we can tell where.
Yeah, I
the
don't think
black
so,
coral
Roland.
is
I'm
arriving.
kind of stable here, so I don't really want to move.
One colony, and I'm wondering if it's coming from
Yeah.
a single point.
It's out of view. There you go.
So it's not coming from the ground, Scott. Let's see. We're still deciding about this one.
You said you can't
Wonder
center
if
it up?
we could pan up a
No,
little
because
bit.
I'm stable right now. I don't really want to move.
I'm just trying to see if we were to take a piece of this. The top of it does not have much of the black coral on it. You have to come at least, you could sort of see where you'd have to snip it to get the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could get the whole thing if you wanted.
Would it fit?
Let's zoom out and get the lasers. Lasers are on. Yeah, I think
Lasers on.
we get. Yeah, I think we get most of it in there.